Ever felt unjustly targeted? Your first-class dreams ripped away by a gate agent's prejudiced glare? Meet Olivia Jones, a successful black entrepreneur whose routine flight turned into a shocking battle against blatant discrimination. Imagine the audacity, being told you don't belong, security called, all for simply holding a valid ticket. But here's the twist. Olivia isn't just any passenger. She's a hidden force within the very airline denying her seat. What happens when the CEO discovers his own investor was humiliated? Will Olivia seek revenge, or will this ordeal spark a powerful movement for change? Stick around to witness the explosive confrontation, the shocking revelations, and the unexpected twist of fate. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below to share your thoughts. Imagine standing in an airport terminal, ticket in hand, exhausted from a week that felt like it lasted a year. All you can think about is settling into your seat, hearing the hum of the airplane engines, and drifting off to a well-deserved rest. But in a split second, everything you thought was routine turns into a tense confrontation. A gate agent blocks your path, questioning your right to be there at all. As onlookers exchange puzzled glances, the tension mounts until an unexpected figure steps into the spotlight. That's where our story begins. A tale of prejudice, hidden power, and epic karma. Olivia Michelle Jones had been on more planes than she could count in her 38 years of life. As a highly successful entrepreneur and quietly the largest private investor in global airlines, Olivia was used to airport lounges, first-class boarding, and the occasional nod of recognition from those who knew the weight of her decisions. Yet somehow at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport on a particularly humid July afternoon, her status was nowhere to be found. She stood by gate B12, wearing a sleek black pantsuit, paired with stylish but sensible heels. Her hair was styled in neat braids down her back, and her posture reflected the poise she had sharpened during years of corporate negotiation. A small carry-on rested at her side, and a phone buzzed in her hand. The flight to Atlanta was delayed, something about a late inbound aircraft, and Olivia found herself surrounded by irritable fellow travelers, all jockeying for position near the gate. But she took it in stride. Delays happened. She planned to catch up on a few urgent emails while waiting. What Olivia didn't plan on was the cunning gaze of a gate agent named Karen, who wore her official Global Airlines name tag with a kind of arrogant authority. Karen was short with curly auburn hair pinned back, and her eyes flitted between passengers as though searching for any disruption to quell. When Olivia approached the counter to inquire if there might be a possibility of an earlier flight, Karen's features instantly hardened. "May I help you?" Karen asked in a tone that indicated she didn't actually want to. Olivia offered her warmest professional smile, fully expecting a routine exchange of flight status information. Little did she know that seemingly ordinary conversation would set off a chain of events that would reveal the ugly side of prejudice and the extent of Olivia's own hidden clout. Karen asked for Olivia's ticket, as if Olivia might have stolen it from someone else. The suspicion in her voice was subtle, but Olivia had navigated enough boardrooms to sense it immediately. Olivia brushed it off at first, thinking it was simply a busy employee, having a rough day. "I'm booked in first class," Olivia said calmly, tapping on her phone to pull up her boarding pass. She rarely boasted about her status or influence within global airlines. Her name didn't even appear on any public boards. She was one of those silent backers, powerful but mostly unrecognized. This anonymity usually worked to her advantage. She liked to see how the operation ran without special treatment, but now that anonymity was working against her. Karen's eyes darted to Olivia's phone screen, and then to Olivia's face, as if she was looking for a flaw or a discrepancy. "Sure you are," she said under her breath, loud enough for Olivia to hear but low enough that anyone else might miss it, amid the gate announcements. Olivia felt a flicker of anger but kept her cool. "Yes, I am," she said, her tone firm but polite. "The flight to Atlanta, seat 2A. Karen's response was a measured blink, a quick swirl of the computer mouse, and a pursing of her lips. "It shows here you're on the wait list for an upgrade," Karen announced, her voice pitched to Kerry. "You're not cleared." There was something borderline humiliating about the way Karen said it, as if Olivia were trying to sneak into first class. Olivia reached into her purse for the printed boarding pass, which clearly showed seat 2A. Before Olivia could hand it over, Karen waved her off. "I'm sure you have a seat, but you may need to speak with customer service if you want to dispute your upgrade status." Olivia frowned. Something wasn't right. She'd been emailed the upgrade confirmation days ago. She'd even checked in with it. "I have a confirmation," Olivia insisted. "It's not a waitlist, it's a confirmed seat." Karen said nothing for a moment, letting the tension hang in the air. Then she printed a new boarding pass and handed it to Olivia. "Well, here is your new seat, 29C in economy. You can check with the main desk if you want to contest it." Next, Olivia stared at the paper. Karen had forced on her a middle seat in the back of the plane. She didn't panic, but an uneasy feeling settled into her gut. She decided to step away from the counter for the moment. The flight was boarding in half an hour. Olivia had time to contact her personal assistant or speak with the airline's customer service. She resolved to do it calmly. No scene required, but as fate would have it, the scene was about to find her anyway. Olivia stepped to a quiet corner of the gate area and placed a call to her executive assistant, Jessica, a capable woman of boundless energy. Jessica was known for being Olivia's eyes and ears, especially when Olivia had to navigate corporate tangles. Olivia explained the situation briefly. "Are you serious?" Jessica nearly shouted on the other end. "This is ridiculous. You have a verified seat. You even have the email from them, right? Let me see what I can do." Olivia forwarded Jessica the confirmation, then scrolled through her phone to find any mention of the seat being changed or cancelled. Nothing. Everything still showed her original seat. While waiting for Jessica's call back, Olivia approached another gate agent named Michael. She explained her problem. He tapped a few keys, frowned, then looked at Olivia with confusion. "I see a note here that your seat was downgraded, but I don't see a reason. Let me check with Karen. She's the one overseeing this flight." Olivia wanted to roll her eyes but kept her composure. She was used to dealing with corporate bureaucracy, but it was startling to watch it happen so blatantly in a public terminal. If she was just an ordinary passenger, she might have had no recourse. But Olivia had resources that most passengers did not. When Karen finally deigned to speak with Michael, Olivia watched their dynamic. Karen had a way of standing too close to Michael, dominating the conversation with hushed intensity, pointing at Olivia in the process. Olivia could almost feel the hostility from across the counter. Moments later, Michael returned, looking more flustered. "Please wait just a moment, Miss Jones. I'm sure there's a misunderstanding." Olivia folded her arms. "I certainly hope so." The line behind her had begun to form, and Olivia could feel the eyes of curious travelers. This was not the kind of attention she enjoyed. She was more comfortable in private negotiations, not in the public eye. The tension was mounting, and the countdown to boarding continued. Karen came back, face set. "Ma'am," she began in a loud, clipped tone, "we've done all we can. The seat you claim to have had is no longer available. You can either accept the seat we reissued, or wait for another flight." The calm Olivia tried to maintain was slipping, replaced by a tremor of indignation. She could no longer keep it hidden. "I booked this seat. I was confirmed for it. I have no record of it being changed, and I deserve a valid reason for why it's being taken away from me." Karen shrugged. "We can't always control last-minute changes. Perhaps the seat was double-booked, or the flight is overbooked." Olivia stared at her. Something told her this was more personal. The sharpness in Karen's eyes, the way she seemed to relish Olivia's frustration, told Olivia everything she needed to know. This wasn't a random glitch. This was discrimination, subtle, plausible, but designed to push Olivia aside. Before Olivia could respond, a cacophony of announcements filled the terminal. "Attention! Passengers on Flight 193 to Atlanta. We will begin boarding in a few minutes. First-class passengers and families with small children are welcome to board first." Olivia's phone buzzed. It was Jessica. "Olivia, listen up," Jessica said. "I reached a contact in the Executive Resolution Department. They assured me your assigned seat, 2A, is still valid. They apologized and said there's no change on file. Something else is going on. I have them on standby to confirm this. Do you want me to patch them in?" Olivia nodded, then realized Jessica couldn't see her. "Yes, absolutely." In that moment, Olivia's mind flickered to an even higher avenue of intervention. The CEO. A short while ago, Olivia and the CEO, Robert Thompson, had exchanged emails about an upcoming quarterly review. Robert officially reported to the board of directors, but Olivia, as the largest single private shareholder, carried significant sway. She had never used that weight for personal gain. Ever. But this might be the moment to rattle the cage if necessary. She decided to wait a few more minutes to see if the Executive Resolution Department could sort it out. Meanwhile, she tried to remain calm, ignoring the curious stares and the discreet smirks of Karen. If Olivia had to guess, Karen assumed Olivia was just some random passenger who had faked or fluked her way into a high-status seat. Karen had no idea who she was messing with. Boarding began. First class was called. Several travelers in business suits lined up, handing their passes to Karen. She smiled at them, joked with a few, and scanned their tickets with the beeper of acceptance. Olivia hung back, deciding she didn't want to approach Karen's checkpoint until she had confirmation in writing of seat 2A. A few minutes later, Olivia's phone lit up again. This time, it was a direct call from Global Airlines Executive Resolution Representative Diane. Olivia answered quickly. "Miss Jones, hi. We verified on our end that seat 2A belongs to you," Diane said. "There's absolutely no record of a downgrade. I apologize for this confusion. I will immediately update the flight manifest to reflect your rightful seat." Olivia exhaled in relief. "Thank you, Diane. Can you make sure the gate agent, Karen, knows this? She should receive the notification on her system right now." Diane assured her she would. Olivia hung up, gave it 30 seconds, then calmly stepped toward the gate to board with her rightful ticket. By now, the first-class line had almost finished boarding, but Olivia still expected minimal fuss. Karen glanced up and saw Olivia approaching, her eyes narrowed. "I already told you, ma'am, you're not in first class," she said, crossing her arms. A couple of well-dressed businessmen paused behind Olivia, exchanging looks of uncomfortable curiosity. Olivia took a deep breath. "Ma'am, if you check the flight manifest again, you'll see that seat 2A is confirmed in my name," Olivia said, trying to keep the anger from her voice. She was a patient woman, but also a proud one, who'd had to fight for every inch of success she'd ever known. She refused to be intimidated by Karen's hostility. Karen's expression didn't waver, but she turned to her computer screen. A beep or two sounded. Then Olivia noticed Karen's face pale slightly. For a moment, Olivia thought that might be the end of it, that Karen, confronted with the truth, would have no choice but to hand over the boarding pass. Instead, Karen pressed a button and said into the airport PA system, "Security requested at gate." Olivia's heart thudded. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the people in line behind her. The two businessmen took a step back as though Olivia had become radioactive. Olivia parted her lips to speak, but no sound came out. In less than a minute, two airport security officers approached. One was an older man with salt and pepper hair, the other a young woman with a firm stance. Karen pointed at Olivia. "This passenger is trying to board illegally in first class without a valid ticket," Karen declared. "Please escort her away from the gate." At that moment, Olivia's composure nearly shattered. She found her voice again, though it quivered slightly with contained outrage. "I have the ticket. It's legitimate. Diane from your Executive Resolution Department just confirmed it. Check your system." But Karen stood resolute, her posture triumphant. "We have reason to believe your seat was illegally switched." She actually winked, as if Olivia was scamming. "Now you can leave quietly, or you can be escorted out of the airport." The crowd behind them grew silent, the tension so thick you could slice it with a knife. Olivia felt the heat of many eyes on her, some sympathetic, others curious, some possibly scornful. In that instant, Olivia's mind traveled back through all the times she'd faced subtle, insidious discrimination, be it in an office, a store, or yes, even an airport. She recognized this moment for what it was, a gross abuse of power by someone who saw Olivia's skin color before anything else. She refused to back down. "I demand to speak with a supervisor," Olivia said, meeting the security officer's glances. "I have proof. I'm not leaving." Karen let out a theatrical sigh. "You're not in the right seat. That's final." And with those words, Olivia realized that the time for niceties was over. Olivia stepped aside, away from the gate door to avoid blocking the flow of other passengers. The two security officers flanked her, one on each side, not laying hands on her, but making it clear that they could. The older officer's brow furrowed as he read Olivia's posture. She did not look like a disrupted passenger. Meanwhile, Karen continued scanning other passengers' tickets, as if nothing extraordinary were happening. The older officer, whose name tag read Officer Miller, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, if you can produce your documentation, We'll confirm and hopefully clear this up." Olivia nodded, grateful for a sliver of reason. She held up her phone to show the official message from Diane, which spelled out her seat assignment in black and white. Officer Miller leaned closer to read, and Olivia could see his expression shift to confusion. "Ah, this looks legitimate," he said, turning to the younger officer. "That won't be necessary." A voice spoke from behind them. A tall, commanding woman in a pilot's uniform strode forward. Her name tag read Captain Rodriguez. She carried herself like someone who had a lifetime's worth of experience in the sky. "I was informed there was a problem with the manifest." Karen, unruffled, repeated her accusation. "This passenger was trying to board in a seat that wasn't hers." Captain Rodriguez turned to Olivia. "Ma'am, may I see your documents, please?" Olivia handed over her phone. Captain Rodriguez scrolled through Olivia's confirmation, cross-referencing the seat information. Then she tapped on her own iPad, presumably accessing the internal flight roster. Karen peered over the captain's shoulder, her jaw set like stone. Captain Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Seat 2A is assigned to Miss Olivia Michelle Jones. There's no record in the system that it was changed." Silence blanketed the gate area. Olivia dared to hope it was over, but Karen was not done. "Well, the system has been known to glitch," Karen spat out, crossing her arms. "I had my instructions from a supervisor that this seat was not to be assigned to Miss Jones. That's all I know." Captain Rodriguez regarded Karen with a skeptical eye. "Which supervisor told you that?" Karen looked flustered. She didn't name names, just repeated that she had received instructions. Olivia watched the captain's expression grow stern, as if she suspected there was no such supervisor's directive, but didn't want to escalate the confrontation in front of all these passengers. By now, Olivia's flight was fully boarded except for Olivia herself. Captain Rodriguez sighed. "We need to push back in 15 minutes. Miss Jones, come with me, please. Let's get this resolved so we can depart on time." Olivia followed the captain toward the jet bridge, flanked by the security officers, who still looked uncertain about the whole situation. Karen, though clearly displeased, remained behind at the gate counter, scanning more final check-ins. As Olivia walked down the jet bridge, she tried to steady her emotions. What should have been a straightforward boarding had turned into a humiliating confrontation. Once inside the aircraft, Olivia was greeted by a flight attendant named Sarah, who gave her a polite if somewhat strained smile. The rest of first class was already seated, the overhead bins nearly full. Captain Rodriguez gestured to seat 2A. "Please, Miss Jones, have a seat. I'll speak with the gate agent and ensure your baggage is properly stowed. We'll sort this out." Olivia nodded her thanks and settled into 2A with a sigh of relief. The flight attendant offered her a welcome drink, which Olivia politely declined. Her nerves were on edge, and she didn't want to add anything that might rattle them further. She texted Jessica, finally seated in 2A. "We'll keep you posted." Jessica replied almost instantly. "Glad to hear it. I'll monitor everything from here." Meanwhile, Olivia looked around first class. She recognized no one. Usually, Olivia would keep to herself, perhaps pull out her laptop to finalize some contract details. But an unsettling anxiety twisted in her gut. She wondered if Karen had truly been acting under someone else's orders, or if it was purely personal bias. Olivia wanted to give Global Airlines the benefit of the doubt. She believed in the company, even had a seat at high-level decision-making. Yet here she was, experiencing firsthand the kind of discrimination that was supposed to be a relic of the past. 15 minutes later, the plane's door closed, and Olivia prepared for takeoff. She put her phone in airplane mode, fastened her seatbelt, and leaned back against the plush seat. The flight attendants did their safety demonstration. The engines roared to life, and the Boeing 737 began taxiing to the runway. Olivia allowed herself a small smile of triumph. She hadn't been removed in handcuffs or forcibly bumped to coach. She had overcome the immediate crisis, but Olivia had no idea that the real turbulence was yet to come, and not from the sky. 30 minutes into the flight, Olivia tried to relax. She reviewed some emails on the in-flight Wi-Fi, ensuring her upcoming meeting in Atlanta was on schedule. The flight attendant came by to serve beverages and snacks. Olivia accepted a glass of water, politely declining anything else. Just as Olivia was about to dive into another email, she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see a tall flight attendant she hadn't interacted with yet. His name tag read Kevin. He had a tight-lipped expression and handed her a folded piece of paper. Olivia stared at it uncertain. "What's this?" she asked softly. Kevin's gaze flickered with discomfort. "A passenger in coach asked me to deliver it to you," he said, then turned and hurried away before Olivia could ask more questions. Puzzled, Olivia carefully unfolded the piece of paper. Scrawled in shaky handwriting were these words: "You may have won this round, but watch your back. You don't belong here." Olivia's heart pounded. She looked around the cabin, but no one else seemed to notice. She had never received such a blatant threat before. It was disconcerting. Could it be Karen who wrote this? But she was still on the ground. Could it be a passenger who had watched the commotion at the gate? Possibly. Olivia felt a chill crawl up her spine. She pressed the call button for a flight attendant. Sarah came over. Olivia showed her the note. Sarah's eyes widened in alarm. "Where did you get this?" "That other attendant, Kevin, gave it to me. Said it was from a passenger in coach." Sarah's face hardened. That's not acceptable. Let me show the captain." Olivia nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She had dealt with hateful emails and online trolls before. Any prominent black woman in business has, sadly. But this felt more personal, more immediate. She was in a confined space, 30,000 feet above the ground, with a potential harasser or worse. Olivia's mind spun with questions. Should she worry about physical harm? Was it just a coward's note? Within minutes, Sarah returned with Captain Rodriguez following behind. The captain knelt by Olivia's seat. "I'm so sorry you received this, Miss Jones. This is entirely unacceptable. We can't definitively identify who wrote it without investigating. However, I will speak to the lead flight attendant and see what we can do to ensure your safety." Olivia nodded, feeling her anger and fear churn. She had no illusions. Identifying the writer might be impossible. Still, Olivia appreciated that the captain took it seriously. "Thank you," Olivia said. "I'd prefer not to cause a disruption, but I'd like to feel secure." Captain Rodriguez placed a reassuring hand on the seat's armrest. "We'll do our best to maintain a safe and respectful environment. I'm sorry this happened on my flight." Olivia managed a small nod of gratitude, but her mind reeled. This was no coincidence. It was too connected to the fiasco at the gate. She wondered if the note was from someone who had overheard Karen's accusations and concluded Olivia had somehow cheated the system. Or maybe it was a random bigot who couldn't stand seeing a black woman in first class. Either way, Olivia felt an undercurrent of malice. As the captain returned to the cockpit, Olivia closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe slowly. She reminded herself that she wasn't helpless. She was Olivia Michelle Jones, business magnate, investor, and a force of nature. She would not cower, but she couldn't deny the sense of vulnerability creeping in. The remainder of the flight was uneventful, at least on the surface. Olivia didn't receive any more notes, nor did any passenger approach her. Kevin avoided eye contact as he passed by. While Sarah tried her best to be attentive, Olivia spent the time mentally drafting a report she intended to give to Global Airlines senior leadership. She felt compelled to highlight this entire ordeal, both the blatant discrimination at the gate and the disturbing threat on board. As the plane descended into Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, Olivia peered out the window. She was relieved to see the familiar city skyline. Atlanta was a place of significance for her. Her home base, the seat of her financial empire, and ironically, a major global airlines hub. One final wave of relief washed over Olivia as the plane touched down safely on the runway. When the seatbelt sign turned off, Olivia gathered her belongings. She nodded at the flight attendants politely, still feeling a swirl of emotions she struggled to contain. Captain Rodriguez stood at the cockpit door as Olivia passed. The captain apologized once more. "Please accept my personal apology. I encourage you to contact our corporate office. This behavior from any Global Airlines personnel or passengers is not tolerated." Olivia nodded, forcing a small smile. "Thank you, Captain." She appreciated the sincerity, but her heart was heavy. She knew that systemic issues ran deeper than one well-meaning pilot could solve. Olivia stepped off the plane, walking briskly up the jet bridge. She switched her phone off airplane mode, and it buzzed with notifications. One text in particular from Jessica caught her eye. "Call me ASAP." Olivia ducked into a quiet corner near the arrivals corridor and dialed Jessica's number. Jessica answered on the first ring, her voice urgent. "Olivia, something big happened. Robert Thompson, the CEO, found out about the gate incident. He's furious. He wants to schedule an emergency meeting with you tomorrow morning." Olivia blinked, her anger momentarily overshadowed by curiosity. How did Robert find out so quickly? I called someone in the executive resolution department. They reported to him. Then it spread like wildfire up the chain. He's apparently livid that any investor, especially you, was treated this way. Olivia exhaled. All right, let's plan on it. Have my notes ready. Olivia hung up and made her way to baggage claim, steps brisk with purpose. She had a swirl of emotions, anger, hurt, and also a steely resolve. If Robert Thompson wanted a meeting, Olivia would make sure to detail every twisted second of the discrimination she had faced. Perhaps, just perhaps, something good would come out of this. But Olivia was about to discover just how wide-reaching the consequences truly were. For Karen, for the airline, and for Olivia herself. The next morning, Olivia prepared for the emergency meeting at Global Airlines Atlanta headquarters. She was not sure what to expect. She only knew Robert Thompson, the CEO, had called it with urgency. She arrived in a black luxury sedan, stepping out in a tailored grey suit that exuded authority. Her hair was braided neatly back, and her eyes held an unyielding determination. Security personnel in the lobby recognized her name and led her up to the executive floor. Olivia walked down the hushed corridors lined with framed photos of global airline planes and historical milestones. Normally, Olivia's visits here were calm and discreet, focused on strategic planning or board matters. Today felt different. She sensed tension in the air, a heightened awareness of her presence. Jessica was already waiting in a glass-walled conference room, laptop open, notes organized. Olivia gave her a grateful nod. "Thanks for everything you did yesterday," Olivia said softly. Jessica's eyes shone with empathy. "Anything you need, Olivia. I'm with you." Moments later, Robert Thompson stepped into the conference room, flanked by two vice presidents. Robert was a tall man with a neatly groomed beard, known for his direct style and unwavering focus on Global Airlines growth. Olivia had always respected him for his business acumen and consistent emphasis on customer experience. Now, though, she'd see how he responded to an internal crisis that struck at the heart of the company's culture. "Olivia," Robert said, extending a hand, "I'm so sorry about what happened. You have my personal apology, and I assure you we're taking this very seriously." Olivia accepted the handshake, her expression unreadable. "I appreciate that, Robert. This was a disheartening experience, to say the least. But I want to see how Global Airlines plans to address not just this incident, but the underlying attitudes that allowed it to happen." Robert nodded gravely, motioning for everyone to sit around the long conference table. He wasted no time. "We've launched an internal investigation. Karen, the gate agent, is on administrative leave pending inquiry. We've interviewed the staff who worked Flight 193, including the pilot, Captain Rodriguez, who corroborates your account." Olivia raised an eyebrow. She hadn't expected them to move so quickly, but she appreciated it. "I also received a threatening note on board from someone in coach," Olivia said, her voice growing tight at the memory. "I don't know if that's connected to Karen or a separate matter, but it was vile and explicit." One of the vice presidents, a woman named Carol, leaned forward. "That's deeply concerning. We'll do everything possible to identify the source, though it may be difficult. We'll certainly check passenger manifests and see if flight attendants noticed suspicious behavior." Robert took a deep breath. "Olivia, this is a matter that goes beyond just you being a prominent investor. No passenger deserves to face discrimination. That's not what Global Airlines stands for. We've always prided ourselves on our inclusive culture." Olivia locked eyes with Robert, yet it happened in front of a crowd. "So how do we fix this for the long term?" A moment of charged silence passed in the room. Robert finally spoke. "We're prepared to take decisive action. We've suspended Karen. We plan to implement additional anti-bias training immediately. And Olivia," his voice softened, "I want to personally involve you in shaping these changes, if you're open to it, as an investor and as someone with valuable insight." Olivia studied Robert's face. She believed he was sincere, but she also knew corporate gestures sometimes rang hollow if not backed by tangible follow-through. Still, Olivia recognized that in the short term, Robert was making the right move. "I'm open to it, but I expect real outcomes," Olivia replied firmly. "We can't just slap on a training session and call it a day." Robert nodded. "Agreed. We'll share the timeline for changes once the internal investigation concludes. We'll propose a new initiative that addresses the issue at its roots." Olivia felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps meaningful progress could arise from this painful ordeal. But it would take more than words. It would require accountability, real changes in hiring, training, and the way employees like Karen could abuse their authority. As Olivia left the meeting, her heart was heavier than she liked to admit, but she also felt a surge of determination. She had spent years investing in global airlines, partly because she believed it aspired to be a forward-thinking airline. Now the question was whether those aspirations would translate into authentic progress. Later that afternoon, Olivia was reviewing documents in her home office. She drafted a statement about her experience and was deliberating whether to share it publicly. The media had already caught wind of an incident involving a prominent passenger and a gate agent mix-up. Olivia had no desire for the spotlight, but she also knew that shining a light on injustice could foster real change. Before she could decide, her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. She answered, wearily. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was a timid female. "Ms. Jones? I hope it's okay that I reached out. This is Lisa from Global Airlines Customer Service Department in Dallas." Olivia's first thought was that maybe Lisa had new information. "Go on," Olivia said cautiously. Lisa took a breath. "I'm probably risking my job here, but I overheard something yesterday from Karen. I wanted to apologize on behalf of the staff who don't share her views, and I thought you should know. Karen was bragging about how she'd finally put someone in their place. She specifically mentioned that you were a black woman who she believed had no business in first class." Olivia's chest tightened. Even though she suspected racism, hearing it confirmed made her blood run cold. "I appreciate you telling me this," Olivia said, her voice steady. "Did you report it to your supervisors?" Lisa's voice grew smaller. "Not yet. Karen's known to bully others, and she's friends with my supervisor. I was scared, but after hearing about the investigation, I realized I should come forward. You deserve to know." Olivia thanked her for the courage to speak up. She assured Lisa that she would protect Lisa's identity as much as possible, but Olivia also urged her to report the incident if the airline was serious about rooting out this behavior. Lisa's testimony could be key. Olivia ended the call, her thoughts swirling. She wasn't surprised by Karen's actions, but part of her had hoped there was some less insidious explanation. Now Olivia's resolve hardened. She decided she would publicly share what happened, not out of vindictiveness, but out of a desire to hold Global Airlines accountable to its promise of inclusivity. Still, Olivia also braced herself for the public scrutiny and possible backlash that might follow. By the next morning, Olivia had carefully crafted a statement about the incident and posted it on her professional social media accounts. She omitted certain details for privacy, but made clear the discrimination she endured at the gate, the suspicious downgrade of her seat, and the threat she received on board. Within hours, Olivia's post went viral. Thousands of people commented, expressing outrage, sympathy, and calls for accountability. Major news outlets picked up the story, headlining it as "Black Woman Denied First-Class Seat. Global Airlines Faces Backlash." Global Airlines Corporate Communications Team released a brief statement confirming an internal investigation and promising zero tolerance for discrimination, but Olivia knew the public would demand more. As Olivia scrolled through the deluge of comments and messages, she saw a flood of support from other black women sharing their own experiences of subtle or overt bias. While traveling, stories of gate agents doubting their status or ignoring them for upgrades, flight attendants being dismissive, seat mix-ups that felt too convenient. Olivia's heart ached. She was not alone in this. Then, Olivia saw a direct message from none other than Robert Thompson. He wrote, "Olivia, I realize the media swirl is intense. Global Airlines acknowledges your statement, and we stand ready to make real changes. I'd like to speak with you again today if possible. Let's accelerate our plan of action." Olivia replied that she would clear her schedule. This was it, her chance to push for serious change, not just lip service. Meanwhile, Karen's own world was crumbling. After Olivia's story went public, Karen was summoned to a hearing. Her job was on the line, and she knew it. She called in sick, hoping to avoid the immediate fallout, but HR insisted she attend a mandatory meeting or face termination. In a cramped conference room, Karen sat opposite an HR representative and her union steward. The HR rep had a thick file of complaints and eyewitness accounts, including Lisa's phone testimony. Karen fidgeted, her confidence slipping. She had never been so close to losing everything. "You're accused of singling out Miss Olivia Jones for different treatment," the HR rep said. "We have evidence you deliberately changed her seat assignment without authorization, and then escalated the situation by calling security." Karen twisted her hands. She was being disruptive. "I was following orders from a supervisor that the seat was flagged. It's not my fault if the system messed up." The HR rep frowned. "Who is this supervisor? We've spoken to your direct manager and others, who say no such order was given." Karen clenched her jaw, realizing she was trapped. She tried to pivot. "Look, sometimes these fancy business travelers get away with gaming the system. I was just making sure Miss Jones wasn't one of them." The union steward shot Karen a warning glance, but it was too late. The HR rep typed furiously, documenting her words. It was clear that Karen was on thin ice. Outside that conference room, the media storm swirled. Public sentiment demanded accountability, and Global Airlines' upper management was under immense pressure. For Karen, the outcome looked grim. That afternoon, Olivia found herself back at Global Airlines headquarters for another meeting with Robert Thompson and senior leaders. This time, Robert introduced Olivia to the head of diversity and inclusion initiatives, a man named James Brown. James was an earnest, sharp-eyed professional who seemed genuinely concerned with building a more equitable culture at Global Airlines. "We've been planning to expand and strengthen our diversity training," James said after introductions were made. "But Olivia, your experience has shown we can't wait any longer. We need immediate action." Olivia nodded. "I've been inundated with stories from other passengers who faced similar bias. Clearly the problem is more widespread than one rogue gate agent. We need to change the entire environment." Robert leaned forward. "I fully agree. Let's talk specifics. We're prepared to implement a comprehensive retraining program for gate agents nationwide, with new protocols on seat reassignments, plus improved accountability measures. We'll also accelerate our approach to investigating discriminatory incidents. Currently it can take weeks. We want a 72-hour max time frame." Olivia liked the sound of it. "What about technology safeguards? If a seat is reassigned, there should be an immediate digital footprint indicating who changed it and why." Robert nodded vigorously. "Yes, that's already in the works. Our IT team can create a feature that sends an automated alert to the passenger if their seat is changed, along with a reason code. That way, no one like Karen can do it under the radar." Olivia exhaled, feeling a semblance of relief. "Good. That will help hold employees accountable, because if there's no transparency, it's too easy to blame a system glitch." She paused, then looked Robert in the eye. "I'm counting on you, Robert, to follow through. I might be a major investor, but I'm also a loyal customer, and right now, I need to see Global Airlines live up to its values." Robert solemnly extended his hand. Olivia took it. In that moment, Olivia felt the heavy weight of not just her own experience, but the weight of countless travelers who'd faced indignities in silence. Ever felt unjustly targeted? Your first-class dreams ripped away by a gate agent's prejudiced glare? Meet Olivia Jones, a successful black entrepreneur whose routine flight turned into a shocking battle against blatant discrimination. Imagine the audacity. Being told you don't belong. Security called. All for simply holding a valid ticket. But here's the twist. Olivia isn't just any passenger. She's a hidden force within the very airline denying her seat. What happens when the CEO discovers his own investor was humiliated? Will Olivia seek revenge? Or will this ordeal spark a powerful movement for change? Stick around to witness the explosive confrontation, the shocking revelations, and the unexpected twist of fate. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below to share your thoughts.